Hi guys. Today I have one of my NTP friends, Ginger Martinson, here with me today. She lives in Salt Lake City, Utah. After graduating from the Nutritional Therapy Association, she started her business, A Mind on Nutrition, where she works one-on-one in group settings with clients with a variety of health issues to create healthy lifestyle habit changes and find balance in their bodies. Her passion, though, is helping people with mood disorders to get their life back, to heal their minds and their bodies, and find a sense of well being. From that, what I would like to do, first of all, is to welcome Ginger. Hi, Ginger.
I
I'm,
actually,
I'm super excited that you're here. Um, I'm so grateful to talk to you today. One of the things that we're going to discuss today, and one of the reasons I wanted to have Ginger, is that mental health is such an issue today, and I don't think it really matters the age. We're just kind of starting to see more of that everywhere. Depression, anxiety, things like that. Do you agree?
I agree completely. Yeah, it seems really prevalent nowadays. Yeah. Yep.
So if I can just ask you, first of all, let's kind of unpack for people why you decided to take the nutritional therapy course or to become an NTP.
Yeah. So actually, it was my own health journey dealing with depression. Is it okay if I share just a minute of my story? I won't get
I'd
too into.
love for you to. Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah. So, I've struggled with depression and anxiety my entire adult life. It really started for me when I was in high school. It started with depression and insomnia, and then continued to get worse into my 20s, which is when I started seeing psychiatrists,
Mm.
and started on that roller coaster of medications, and was, officially diagnosed as with depression. Eventually, the anxiety came in. And I didn't really, a lot of people get relief from antidepressants, but I never really did. So the sleep medication would help, the anxiety medication would help, but the antidepressants never really did.
Mm.
So when I was about 30 years old, my depression kind of got extra bad. I was having a really hard time functioning, and I went to see a new doctor, and he diagnosed me as bipolar and put me on mood stabilizers. And that's when I finally got a little bit of relief. So the antidepressants didn't work for me, but the mood stabilizers did.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's kind of when I started getting relief. So I kind of continued on the journey of on medication, off medication. The problem with the medications is they work for a while and then you become resistant to them, or, you're not really digging into the symptoms of things. So, that's continuing to get worse. So your symptoms get worse. So yeah, to make a long story short, probably about 5 years ago, I kind of hit my lowest low, and started seeing a new psychiatrist again. My old psychiatrist had retired, and she was wonderful. I really felt like she was really invested and was trying to help me. And
That makes a
but
difference.
what was that?
That makes such a difference.
It made a huge difference. Yeah, she was fantastic, but unfortunately, the only tools she had in her toolbox were medications. And
Mm.
so we were on that cycle of, on and off, because we couldn't find anything that worked. So for about a year, I was seeing her once a week.
Mm.
Um, I unfortunately was really suicidal at this point. I was not doing good. And anyway, after about a year of seeing her, I went in to see her one more time, and she said, "I'm writing you a prescription, and this is all I have left for you. If this doesn't work, we have to talk about shock therapy."
Mm. Oh my gosh.
And I wasn't interested in shock therapy.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds fairly extreme and a little ominous.
Yeah, it was pretty ominous. And, with this journey came a lot of weight gain, which when you're depressed, weight gain doesn't help. And I knew I wasn't interested in doing shock therapy. And I know this sounds really dramatic, but I had really come to terms at that point with suicide.
Mm.
And I decided that long term, that was probably where I was going to end up, because I was so miserable. I couldn't hardly work. I almost lost my job. I was crying at work if I even showed up. I couldn't function. I had no quality to life left at this point. So when the doctor said shock therapy, when I left her office, I was like, well, if this medication doesn't work, I guess I know where I'm headed.
Right.
So yeah, so it was kind of in this time that I stayed on that medication longer than I should. It was awful. It wasn't working for me. I
Mm,
don't want to be too graphic, but it was basically going straight through me. So I was becoming malnourished. I started losing all my hair.
mm.
Um, anyway, I stumbled on an article that was talking about the ketogenic diet, which I didn't know anything about at the time. All I knew it was low carb, and I had kind of been interested in low carb for a while because of a book that I had read a few years before. So I took the time and read the article, and it talked about the ketogenic diet being the go-to treatment for epilepsy for many, many years.
Right. Yeah. I think that's one of the things I just want to pause and say about the keto diet. It's a huge, huge trend right now.
Yeah.
And it's was created to be a therapeutic diet. And I wish that people would just kind of pause and look at that for a second because it's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic for a certain subset and group of people. So
Absolutely.
just respecting that individual body and if it works for you. And I know people on it that they look so good, they feel so good, just wanted to pause there if it's for you. So go ahead, you read the keto book.
No, you're totally right. Well, the reason that was interesting to me is because, so every time the doctor put me on a new medication, I'd go consult my good friend Google, to find out what the side effects were, what it's used
Yeah.
for. And every single medication that worked for me was also used to treat epilepsy. It never meant anything to me, but I always thought it was very odd. So the mood stabilizers are also used for epilepsy. So yeah, I made a wild leap because I was desperate. And I thought, well, gosh, if, the medication that helps me, I wonder if the diet that helps epileptics would also help me,
Right.
right? I mean,
Right.
I had no knowledge, no science to back it up, but I was like, what do I have to lose? It's like shock therapy or this horrible medication. Um,
Right.
so I didn't really understand it. The article told me that it was a high fat, moderate protein, low carb diet, and it stressed healthy fats. And I didn't know there was even such a thing. I'd eaten low
Right.
fat my whole life. So I was
Yeah.
like,
A lot of people still don't. Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, so I jumped in and just started doing the best I could with the limited knowledge I had. And almost immediately I started feeling better. Like within weeks, I started feeling better. I'll never forget waking up one morning, and this is going to sound crazy probably, but I remember waking up and being like, oh my gosh, I feel happy. I'm excited to go about my day. Like I had never experienced that. I had never woken up happy.
Oh, that
Yeah.
just gives me goosebumps.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. And from there, it just continued to get better because it was working. I started, I was like, I got to read the books. I got to read the blogs. I got to listen to the podcast. I got to learn about this. So I started expanding my diet, figuring out really what was a healthy fat. And within just a few months, I was able to come off 5 different medications that I was on for my depression and anxiety. And yeah, I couldn't look back. So I got really passionate. And that's why I was like, oh my gosh, everybody needs to know this. I have to tell the whole world. So I started, kind of searching out, how can I get some street cred here, get some, actual knowledge so I can go out and teach people. So that's when I found the NTA and decided to go to school and learn what I could learn and do what I'm doing now. So sorry if that was too long, but
No, that's fantastic. And I will tell people Ginger was in my class. That's where I met Ginger. But also when we're dealing with anything that has to do with mental health or honestly anything medical, if it's actually beyond the scope of what we do to diagnose anyone. What we do, we don't treat people, we don't diagnose. We come alongside and teach what we call foundational health. So always, talk to your qualified medical practitioner, your doctor, whomever you're seeing. we can definitely work together with you, doctor, and come up with something that's going to work for you. But, just kind of wanted to plug that in. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't take people off medications. I don't, yeah, no, absolutely. And I
nope.
do doctors quite a bit. A lot of my clients have me work one-on-one with their doctors so we can make sure we have a good path. Yeah.
Yeah, that's excellent. It's always so good to have a team because, the whole two heads or three heads are better than one kind of thing. We all come at it from a different perspective, and to have insight from different schools of thought can really bring to light some things we weren't thinking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I don't know everything, and
Of course.
doctors don't know everything. We all have our own specialty, our
Mhm.
way of looking at things. And so it's good to have a team. That's been something that I've been trying to do since graduating is, finding a community of like-minded so we can all work together. So you can be good at what you're good at and I can be good at what I'm good at, and, hopefully help our clients to the best of our ability that way. So
Yeah, exactly. And have those practitioners that you can refer out to if there's, a therapy or something, some other modality that's going to be complementary to, kind of their whole plan. Because that's another thing that we look at is the whole person instead of just kind of like, one piece. Um, I did want to ask, what are some of the things that you see most often in your practice?
um gosh, what do I see most? In terms of the type of clients or just specific issues they're dealing with?
Right. If we're talking about like mental health and depression and things in general, when people come to you to talk to you or to seek, advice or plans, what are some of the most common problems that you see?
Yeah, so it seems like most people kind of are often down the same type of journey that I went down. They've been told that there's no cure for their depression or their bipolar, that it's something that they'll need to manage with medication for their entire life.
Yeah.
Uh, they're often told to go to therapy. I went down the therapy road, which was, I think, more traumatizing than anything for me because I didn't have anything to talk about. I'm like, my life's not that bad. I don't know why I'm depressed.
Right.
So I see people, and by the time they get to me, they're pretty desperate. They're, a lot of times they can't work.
Mm.
Or because their depression's gotten so bad, things like that. But what I'm finding is digestive issues are almost always an issue.
Mm.
Or a problem, when we kind of dig into it, and inflammation. Those are two things that I find with pretty much every client. If I can fix their digestive issues, if I can lessen their inflammation, their mood almost always improves. So
Yeah.
I see that.
Let's
I would,
kind of unpack for a minute the role of fats, since you had such a good response to the ketogenic diet, and it is based around, like a high fat concept. If you can kind of speak to that or unpack that a little bit, what the importance of fats are in the role of, let's say, having, mood disorders or things of that nature.
yeah. So yeah, fat is really, really important. We've kind of been told to fear fat,
Mm.
particularly for, cholesterol issues. But what they're finding is that dietary fats have almost zero impact on serum cholesterol. So eating cholesterol does not actually really have much impact on your blood cholesterol. So, and fat is actually really, really protective for the body.
Mm.
It protects your organs. It's how our hormones are created, and our hormones really shape the way we view the world. So if our hormones are out of balance, of course our moods are going to be bad. We're going to be anxious. We're going to be sad. We're going to be,
Sure.
all over the place. So without healthy fats in our diet, our hormones suffer. And then also, our brain is made up of 60, I think it's 60 or 70% fat.
Yeah.
And we need to feed it what it's made out of. We shouldn't be afraid of. So in starving our body of fat, we're starving our brain of fat. And what they're kind of finding is that our bodies actually run better on fat than they do on glucose. So what I love about the ketogenic diet is once you become what they call fat adapted, where your body knows how to use fat for fuel, you gain a lot of metabolic flexibility. So your body is able to use the fat for fuel. And then when you give it carbohydrates, it switches right back over, it uses the glucose, and it goes right back to fat. So you get that metabolic flexibility, and your mood is just so much better. For a lot of people running on ketones, running on the fat for fuel. So yeah, fat's amazing. Fat's become one of my best friends. Like I can't even imagine eating a low fat diet now. I just feel so much better.
Right, right. I'm really glad that you mentioned that metabolic flexibility, because there sometimes carbs become vilified, and it's not that your body should never have carbohydrates, or that you shouldn't have that intake. It's just finding the right balance for your body so you can use both of those forms of fuel,
Exactly.
in an efficient way. I think it's the insulin spike that you're looking to pretty much avoid. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah. So, carbohydrates have the biggest impact on your blood glucose level, which obviously is going to have the biggest impact on your insulin. And then protein and then fat has the least amount of impact on your blood glucose. So, yeah, but I agree. Like, fat has been vilified for so many years, and I feel like that is happening to carbohydrates now. And carbohydrates are not the enemy. We need to eat the right carbohydrates in the right amounts at the right times, right? Like,
Yeah.
not that they're evil.
Yeah, I totally agree. I just wanted to kind of address that really quickly, because, and um, I don't, I don't advocate for any, like, all people to be on a specific diet. By all means, if you're somebody who needs a little more carbohydrate, go ahead and do that. But it all happens to be with, like, how you're functioning, how you're feeling, where your energy levels are, what your mood is, and it's all super individualized.
Yeah,
So,
I agree. And I don't do the ketogenic diet with every single client of mine. It's not right for everybody. Like you said, it's that, bio-individuality thing. I do love keto for people with depression because of all the reasons that we just talked about. But with that said, not everybody wants to do it, and not
right,
everybody has to.
right,
So, yeah.
yeah, super good to know. What are some of the things that you think would be good to watch for? Like, if somebody feels like, they have been anxious, or they have been just really down, and we all go through kind of periods of that with different things that happen in life. But when is it something that you kind of wanna watch and seek some help for? What are some signs of that?
Yeah, I guess what I'd say is when it kind of becomes chronic, when it's a lot of the time, because we all have bad days, and
Yeah.
anybody who has actually struggled with depression knows the difference between depression and a bad day, you
Mm.
know, or, being worried or anxious about something and true anxiety. They're very, very different. And I think most people kind of know when they're headed down that path. So when the majority of your days are becoming depressed or anxious, when you just can't seem to get out of the funk,
Mm.
or um, you know yeah, when you just can't get past it, it means it's time to address it. I've actually kind of come to think about depression, anxiety, bipolar, mood disorders in general, and even just brain issues in general, brain fog, things like that, as a
Mm.
symptom of something else going wrong in the body.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a weird place for me to be because I was depressed, so severely depressed for so many years. But I almost think of depression now as kind of a gift in a way, because it's telling you something's wrong in your body. So if you can address that root cause, you may be warding off something much worse down the road. So get help, figure it out. If you're feeling down all the time, and I'm not anti-medications, because sometimes I think
Yeah.
medication can be really good. It can be, I like to
Of
think of it
course.
as a life preserver, so take it while you need it, but get to the root cause of what's going on so you can get off that medication, because there's a lot of downsides to it as well. It's hard on our bodies. We can't detox it very well. And It can actually lead to worse depression over time. So yeah, if it's becoming chronic and you just can't kick it, that's when I would say it's time to take a look at what's going on.
Okay. Um, if you want to talk a little bit about kind of the approach that you take in your practice, as NTPs, we're like food first, properly prepared, nutrient dense whole foods. But if you can kind of visit what someone could expect if they came to visit you, like what are you going to go over? What are some of the first steps you're going to have them take?
Yeah, so always like you said, as a nutritionist, I'm always going to want to know what's on your plate.
Yeah.
Um, what are you eating? How much of it are you eating? When are you eating it? Taking all those types of things into consideration. I'm always looking at food quality as well, because that has a big impact, as you
Right.
know. So I'm going to look at that. We're also going to talk about a lot of lifestyle factors, especially when we're thinking about mood disorders. If you're not moving your body, you're going to be depressed. If you're not sleeping well, you're going to be depressed. If you have a job that you hate, that you're just chronically stressed, you're going to be depressed. So I'm going to look at all of those things. We have to take it all into account. You can eat the perfect diet, but if you're not sleeping and you're constantly stressed, you're not ever going to get better, not truly better. So I'm going to take into account all of those things.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that. I just want to pause on that for just a second, because so many people, and they'll come in and they'll be like, you don't understand. My diet is so good. Like I eat so clean and I eat, this, that, or the other thing. And even if they do have like all of their stuff in the right ratios and they've got good quality product and they're just being really, really good. I was, such a self-inflicted victim of that for about a year and a half. That's why we look at all of those other areas, because it's food first, but it's not just food.
Right. Yeah, we're missing a big piece of the puzzle if we only talk about food. Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
So
um
far.
are you seeing some of these mood issues happen in like younger people? What's, I guess, maybe what's the youngest person that you either had come to your practice or known that's dealing with some of this kind of stuff?
The youngest I've personally worked with was 16 years old.
Mm.
And yeah, she was really struggling with mood issues, with focus.
Mm.
Um, she had symptoms of, ADHD. She was having symptoms of autism.
Mm.
And we started cleaning up her diet, and she did immediately start seeing big improvements. So I do think it's happening younger and younger. I know it's happening even younger than 16 years old. That's just the youngest that I have personally worked with at this point. But yeah, I mean, like I said, for me even, and I'm far from 16, but it started for me when I was about 15 or 16 years old.
Yeah.
It's
Do
happening
do
because
you,
of diets.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I think because of the quality of food and the diets that we're eating, we're going to keep seeing it being younger and younger.
Do you feel like there are certain categories that you kind of want to just like really remove or get rid of first when it comes to mood?
Categories of food?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? I'm sorry. I didn't hear you.
Sure. For instance, especially with teens, I mean, teenagers, stereotypically, way not all of them, there's just a lot of junk food. There's a lot of that kind of stuff going on. And I find that the colors and the flavors and things in food are really kind of a problem for mood.
Yeah, they are. I agree. I honestly, if I can remove gluten and dairy, those two things from somebody's diet, I almost always see huge improvements from those two things.
Mm.
I'm sorry, I said gluten and dairy, but I meant gluten and sugar. Dairy also can be a big problem. That's why that was top of mind. But for when I'm thinking specifically of teenagers, really anybody, but teenagers in particular, gluten and sugar are two huge triggers for them. For all of the things that so many kids are struggling with, whether it's depression, anxiety, obesity, ADHD, Alzheimer's, wow. Um, like Asperger's, that. Yeah.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. So now I'm going to ask a little bit of a different question.
Okay.
Everyone has a different answer to this, and that's why I like to ask it to everyone. Um, I always tell people you can't achieve health until you first define what that means to you. Like when I'm with clients, they always have goals. We're always trying to work towards their goals. But an important process of that is defining what health means to you or what health looks like to you. So, how do you define health?
Oh man, that's a big question. How do I define health? I think it's different for everybody. I think it is, like you said, you're going to get a different answer from everybody that you talk to, and it is such a good question. For me, health has been, for me personally, it's been honestly, I talked about that morning I woke up and I wanted to get out of bed. To me, that's healthy. To me, I now am doing something that I'm passionate about. That was a part of my depression, and then part of being on the mood stabilizers. Part of it was that I felt flat all the time. I lost interest in everything.
Yeah.
I lost motivation and drive. So I now have a passion. I now love getting up in the morning. I love taking my dog for a walk. I just love life in general. And to me, that's health, just feeling good, feeling happy, feeling energized. And yeah, that's probably how I would define health for myself.
I love that. I love that. That's awesome. So, where can people find you if they want to work with you?
Yeah. So you can find me at amindonnutrition.com or a Mind on Nutrition on Facebook. And I never converted my Instagram account over to my business name. So it's under Martins and Ginger. Ginger
Gotcha.
Martins. I'm skeptical of that. So it's Martins and Ginger on Instagram.
Gotcha. All right. I just want to thank you for, first of all, being willing to share your story, for being vulnerable with it and being honest about it, even though sometimes our stories they're not the happiest or prettiest things to hear. I think it really gives people an understanding of how powerful nutrition is and how really life-changing what we do can be. So I appreciate you being able to, let us know and visit about the before part so we can see what a huge difference that's made. So thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Thanks for having me on. It's been really fun.
All right. Thanks so much.